All right, we are live. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Sir Hunt's Reviews. My name is Mark. Why do I always run up the fucking stairs? And I'm out of breath when I start these. But it's Emilia Clarke's birthday. This is obviously not a stream about Emilia Clarke's birthday, but I just want to start this out by saying happy birthday, Emilia Clarke. She's obviously Daenerys Targaryen from the greatest television series of all time. These are some of my favorite images of her. You know, whoopsie. Yeah, I don't know. Make sure y'all go to her social media on Instagram and go tell her happy birthday. All right. All right. So first things first. This is a potential. It's a rumor castings from like a House of the Dragon fan account on Instagram or some shit. But basically, there's a rumor that actor Bijan Danishman. Let me see if I can't bring up some other pictures of him. What's in it? Bijan Danish. I've never heard of him. Let's see who he is first. How about that? He's an actor from The Night Manager, and he's Iranian. Artist based in England. He was educated at Eastbourne. Doesn't see 20 Fingers, Inseparable, 2 and 2, Infidel. I've never heard of any of those movies, but apparently this guy is supposed to be playing a Red Priest. Let me show you guys what he looks like. Now, obviously, he fits that SOC look. Shit, which one was it? Yikes. Didn't mean to do that. Oh, come on. There's only... There we go. All right, so for those who are unaware, Red Priests are basically individuals who are followers of R'hllor. We have two very famous Red Priests from the main series. Most importantly, Melisandre. She brings back Jon Snow. They're known for being able to harness the power of the Red God R'hllor and basically reignite the essence of an individual, and they become a Fire White. It's interesting because there's all different types of zombies or whites in George's story. The Red Priest at this time is obviously going to be bringing in more magical elements to this series. There's not necessarily something super notable from the source material about a Red Priest. The fact that we saw, and I'll be talking about that here in a second, the fact that we saw a Godswood, it's kind of weird that they chose to make the heart tree an actual weirwood because it's a great oak in King's Landing. But so the fact that we've seen pictures of a weirwood tree, we know that two things that run alongside each other in this world, that's magic and dragons. There's dragons everywhere. George obviously sprinkled in some fantasy elements into the Dance of the Dragons, the source material, Fire and Blood Part 1, that this is founded on, part of Fire and Blood Part 1. But it's more so left up for the writers of this series. But you know, hang on, I gotta fucking sneeze. Oh man. Damn, that sucks. That's gonna be fucking bugging me. Damn, I just sneeze like crazy. But yeah, so it's gonna be left up to the writers to sort of enhance the magical elements during this time period. We do know that an increased presence of dragons means an increased presence of magic. So there's a bunch of mystical elements that are going on in this time. Specifically, if you want to know more about the Red Priests, here, let me bring up my favorite. This is from a wiki of Ice and Fire. I've already talked about who they were, but for a more specific, in-depth look, I guess I'll do this. The Red Priests are the clergy of the original R'hllor, called so because of the loose crimson robes they wear. Red Priests, who may be male or female. Now, what's interesting is that this supposed casting is for a high priest, which is like something that I believe Kinvara was in season 6 Game of Thrones. Red priests who may be male or female administer the last kiss to deceased followers of the Lord of the Light. They are a common sight in Essos, as the faith of R'hllor's influence is more widespread, and children are sometimes given to the temples of R'hllor to be raised into the priesthood. Red temples also buy children to serve as slaves of R'hllor and raise them as priests, temple prostitutes, and warriors known as the Fiery Hand. In cities where slaves are branded with facial tattoos, slave red priests have flames tattooed across their faces. Obviously, that's interesting. I think we did actually see in season 5 when Tyrion is making his way to Daenerys, we saw a woman who was preaching and she had the fiery tattoo, right? Let me see. It'd be interesting to be able to maybe see if oh, you can't see her tattoo then. Remember, she looks at Tyrion. But yeah, as far as like this casting, like, remember a while, like, you know, when House of the Dragon hadn't really announced any casting except for like the first 5 members or something like that. Right before that, there was a rumor going around that Danny Sapani was going to be playing Corlys Velaryon. Now, it obviously did turn out to be a black actor, but it wasn't Danny Sapani. So maybe they're looking to cast a high priest for the series of R'hllor, but it's going to not be that guy that they said, and instead will be a woman or someone different entirely. I think it would be interesting to see Melisandre, because she, on the TV series, which is what this world is a part of, yes, it's a part of A Song of Ice and Fire, but the adaptation side. So pretty much all of the stuff that we saw in Game of Thrones is going to be either expanded upon or maybe even I guess retconned a bit, but not really. I think they're more going to just enhance it with book stuff. That's what it looks like with the Iron Throne. You're not retconning it per se. You're just making it look more aesthetically pleasing. This is 200 years before, so a number of things could have happened in the adaptation universe to change the way the Iron Throne looked. But I think it would be interesting to have maybe Daemon. Obviously, we do know that Mysaria is from Lys, but you know, the R'hllor, the followers of R'hllor are more present in Essos, so it's possible that maybe she has some influence of R'hllor. Maybe we find out Daemon does. Maybe something down in the Stepstones that makes him start, you know, using a certain type of magic to enhance his bond with Caraxes. Maybe I've theorized this before, but maybe he even shares some of that knowledge with Rhaenyra. It would be fucking awesome to get to see an expansion from the source material that enhances it, right? So like we didn't know these magical elements were a part, well, at least in the TV universe. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is hang on one second. This is a Targaryen ship. Now this is super interesting. It looks like it could be Targaryen, but I will say the color, fuck, that is so not zoomed in. Is there any way for me to zoom in? Stop it. Okay, let me see. But it kind of looks like it matches the color patterns of Alicent's carriage, but it's also black. So, you know, this could be one of Daemon's ships that he takes down to the Stepstones with Corlys. Trying to share a way for me to zoom in. There we go. But yeah, so the color, you see how it's like a darker black on the outside and then a darker gray on the inside. That looks very, very similar to Alicent's carriage. I don't know. I don't think it's a Hightower ship. I think it's a Targaryen ship. I think it's like the black design makes me think Rogue Prince, which makes me think Daemon. I'm going to hop over in the chat here in a second. I just want to get through this information. This wasn't going to be a very long stream. It's just been piling up over the past couple of days, and I didn't actually have enough time to sit down and make a full video. But I do think that this is going to be involved in a heavy battle. We've already got images of what appears to be some sort of flame torch that's coming out. I'm not going to share those on this because the account that posted those on the subreddit, on the House of the Dragon subreddit, has talked shit about me. There's actually a bunch of people in the House of the Dragon subreddit. I'm thinking it's one fucking YouTuber with like 15 different accounts because they're the only one who posts their videos on that subreddit. So that's kind of fucking weird. And then I've seen comments of them talking about me, and I blocked them because this person's a fucking idiot who just rants about how Dan and Dave are conspiracy theories. And this motherfucker knows who he is. He might even be watching this shit right now. But I blocked them because they spam the House of the Dragon hashtag. Anybody that I blocked on Twitter and Instagram, it's because they were spamming the House of the Dragon hashtag. And I did it. I'm going to go back and unblock all those people, but that motherfucker's going to stay blocked. Anyway, I think he's like got a bunch of mod accounts on the House of the Dragon subreddit, but the person who posted that video, I've seen them talking shit about me, so I'm not sharing that shit on my fucking channel. Fuck you, buddy. Suck my dick. But yeah, so basically there's this image. It looks like it's a it's actually a video. It looks like it's like a fire torch or something that's going out, and then it lights up. And then there's also green screens around it, like a big aerial lighting rig. So it looks like they're whatever area they're filming in is going to be used with a CGI element behind it. Anything that's really well lit means green screen because it's got to have all the angles that are shown. This is the dragon obviously landing somewhere and causing some sort of havoc and chaos. But I think that's linked with this Targaryen image ship that we're seeing here. And then nextly, let's see, which one is this? Oh, okay. I kind of already talked about this a little bit briefly at the beginning of this video, but this will be one of the last things I'll talk about before I jump into chat. This is obviously an aerial above shot from the Linden studio. Oh, god damn it. Am I going to have to do that same thing again? These pictures just do not want to zoom the fuck in. It looks like I'm going to have to. Hang on one second. All right. So yes, there's other images of this from the front. The side, obviously, with not all of the rafters. The front part is mostly what's going to be filmed. It gives it that real Castle Black aesthetic, that real Winterfell aesthetic, where you have like an actual courtyard that the actors are walking into. The people who are viewing this, us, the show watchers, we get to familiarize ourselves with this set. But a lot of people, not a lot of people, a few people saw that Weirwood tree and we're like, oh, this must be the new Winterfell. No, Winterfell doesn't have red brick. This is obviously Maegor's Holdfast with the red keep. This is part of King's Landing. The Kingswood or the God's Wood in this series has a Weirwood tree. Maybe it's mentioned at the end of this series that the Maesters recommend removing it. It's interesting because it's specific in the books that the Hearts tree in King's Landing is a fucking great oak. So that's what made me think, oh, okay, they're changing that a bit. Supposedly there's no weirwood trees that grow past a certain distance, and obviously King's Landing is below that distance, so there's not supposed to be any weirwood trees there. Maybe they're connecting. Maybe they're saying that since Aegon technically did take on the Faith of the Seven, even though we don't know who the Targaryens worshipped, they did name some of their dragons after the gods of Old Valyria, but it's specific that they didn't really have a religion before they came and took over Westeros, not necessarily when they were already coming to the established trading post, Dragonstone, but once they started conquering Westeros, Aegon took on the Faith of the Seven. So maybe this show is enhancing that a bit. He didn't just take on the Faith of the Seven, but he also wanted to, I guess, worship the old gods a bit or make the North feel more inclusive. We do know Cregan Stark allies himself with Rhaenyra, who's, the true heir in this time. So it would be interesting if, like, maybe this is kind of going along with that. Let me bring up an image of Winterfell so I don't make myself look like a jackass, but I'm pretty sure Winterfell is like Greystone, not Redstone. Yeah, it's Greystone all the way, but Yeah, it's definitely not Winterfell. They can't change the look of it that much. Those spires, the castle rounds, those things have to stay. That's definitely make worse hold fast at King's Landing. All right, so let's jump into the chat for the last bit of this. But before I do that, oh no, don't you try to flag me, mother trucker, motherfucker sucker. That audio. These streams never get monetized until afterwards anyway, and I have to go and like manually submit approval for it because I guess someone reports them before I even start streaming. That's the only thing that would make sense. I don't know how else that would happen. But jumping into the chat. All right, let's go all the way back up to the top. Shit, I wanted to pull up the participants. Let's see. So I can give a shout out to everybody who is talking. Whoops. All right. Shout out to Divine Sharika. She was the first one here. Jonathan Ganzak. Sorry if I butcher your name. Lord Crackhead 33. Ronnie Gray. Sue Child. Zozo Lamase. Ben S. Irie Fan Geek. Dennis Sorensen. Shannon Grimes. Delroy LML. K3G92. John Rod. Felipe Zanini, Brennan Maxberry, Tyler Malcapine, and I think that's it who is typing in the chat. So what up, all of y'all else who are watching this afterwards? Thank you for joining. This wasn't going to be very long. I'll start taking some questions if you guys want. So basically, just to reiterate what I went over here, the first thing we talked about was the heart tree and what the fuck? Was the heart tree. Let me pause it on a picture of Daemon and Ray. Is that at the beginning? Yes, it is. But you've seen this trailer a bunch of times, huh? Fucking A. Fuck it. You know what? Oh no, it's in the middle. There we go. All right. So yes, just to reiterate, we talked about the heart tree. That's most likely the Red Keep, Maegor's Holdfast, somewhere in King's Landing. Definitely not Winterfell. And obviously that's a change from the source material. A welcome change, in my opinion, just because there's so much dragons at this time. There has to be so much magic at this time. And it's got to be handled the right way. And one of the things like changing the heart tree in the Kingswood in King's Landing to a Godswood to make Aegon more inclusive and want to include the North. I think that's why they're doing that. That's a fucking badass idea. This could also be another keep entirely and not King's Landing and not Winterfell. And then also we talked about the potential casting of the Red Priest, the High Red Priest, which is the Bilal guy, but it could also be someone different entirely. Remember what they did with Dany Sapani and Corlys Velaryon? It was someone different entirely. Then also there was the Targaryen ship. That's obviously not obvious, but in my opinion, that's Daemon's ship that he uses to go down to the Stepstones. They're probably going to do a mini sea battle, and that's being filmed right now. Speaking of filming, it's interesting that, they're supposed to continue filming into November, which likely will be meaning maybe they'll do some reshoots in December, but hopefully they'll be finished by the end of this year. There was another rumor, no fucking source, but there was a rumor saying that George gave an interview recently, and I check his Not a Blog every fucking day. I'm sure everybody does. I actually check it like 3 times a day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and at nighttime. What the fuck was that, dude? Holy shit. That was crazy. But yeah, on his Not a Blog, there was no update. And when you Google George R.R. Martin interview, he's not done any recent interviews, but basically the bullshitter person who tweeted that nonsense said that George said House of the Dragon is going to be airing in between March and June. Well, no fucking shit. We already knew it was going to be airing in between the first quarter into the second quarter of the year at some point. But yeah, let me see. Questions. Irie Fan Geek says, what if they make the Dance of Dragons one season and do the Rebellions next season? That would be sick if they go through the whole Targaryen fall. You cannot cover the dance in one season. It would be I think there's this show, even if it's not as critically acclaimed as Game of Thrones, it's going to do one thing for sure, and that's greenlight an entire Song of Ice and Fire universe. It's got to be a mix of film. It's got to be a mix of movies, TV shows, like one-off miniseries, and also an anime adaptation. Aegon's Conquest would make for the greatest anime adaptation of all time, mostly because just from watching the main series, we already know what Aegon did in his conquest. He's basically going around and uniting the Seven Kingdoms. That's 100%. That's what we know what he did. So the way to make it appealing to a wider audience is you make it anime, because you get to see like the shit that wouldn't translate well. Like you can't make, for instance, watch Gantz, the anime, and then watch Gantz, the fucking live action movie, or any live action anime. It doesn't look right. So the stuff that George specifically visualizes for like that he writes about in his books that you're reading, that you visualize in your mind, that's something that anime can make come to life, right? So the artist interpretation of what they're reading is usually 1,000 times better if it's animated than what we get made up in the physical world, right? So like, for instance, Kieran Belshaw's the guy who does the graphic art for Game of Thrones, like 5 through 7 or 8 or whatever, his graphic art sometimes looks way better than the actual scene that we got on the screen. And that's just because you can just do certain things. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But I don't think they're going to be covering anything other than the Dance of Dragons in the show, or the fall of House Targaryen. Zeldrizas Buzdari, Ixos Daor. Also, if you could please slap a like on this video. The like goal is going to be as many as possible. I like the Blue Eyes in the Dune movies. Wish they would have made the Targaryen eyes of purple in this. Yeah, but to be honest, that was my I kind of knew they weren't going to do that, because that's like a big thing. That's like, you're basically saying fuck you to Game of Thrones, like if you were to do that, because like obviously Daenerys would have had amethyst eyes in the main series if her ancestors from 180 years before did, especially since they all fuck each other, right? So you could argue that she doesn't look as black as she would have because Corlys is her relative, but there's 200 years of inbreeding with other white people. So that's why Daenerys and Viserys don't look white at all, right? So, you know, that's not hard to explain that. But purple eyes, that's like, oh, hold the fuck up. Hold the fuck up. What happened? I don't know. Felipe Zanini, hey, shout outs from Brazil. Do you think we're going to see Luke dying in the first season? Spoiler alert, and yes, for sure. I've actually let me see if I even have those notes up, but I'll try to, let's see. I have a video, that I just did recently where I was talking about that. I meant to leave the question pinned. What the fuck? There we go. Where I was talking about how apparently the first season climaxes at that. Where is it? Plot leak episode titles. There we go. So go watch this video right here. I'll drop this link in the chat. If you want a more in-depth answer to that. My dude, thank you for watching also. Fuck yeah, Brazil. Y'all women down there got some big old booties. Booty. How many episodes this season? I haven't checked. 10. A big fan from Bangladesh. What's up, my dude? Thank you for watching. Y'all thought I was the only one who thought this shit would be a fire-ass anime. No. Anybody who watches anime would know, has said that. It's the shit. That's the best way to do it. If you really want a full-out, book-accurate Aegon's Conquest, you need to animate that motherfucker. Let's do Inception. Let's watch my last live stream. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that to y'all. Where the fuck was the trailer? Let me bring that back up. There we go. So yeah. Is it called House of the Dragon, meaning not just Dance of Dragons? It's called House of the Dragon just because they wanted to keep in line with Game of Thrones, but it's actually Game of Thrones House of the Dragon, as you can see right there. It's that's the actual title of it. So this is what you're going to see it referred to on most social media, so that people know, hey, is there a house with a bunch of dragons in it? What the fuck is that show about? What up, John Rod? What's up, my dude? Thank you, Shannon. Thank you. Yo, what up, Ben? Hello from Ireland. How hard will it be for Hot D to overcome the last season of Game of Thrones? The first pair of titties in the first dragon flight, the first dragon fuck scene with titties on the back of a it's not hard at all because there's there's a large chunk of people. There's the loudest motherfuckers online who didn't like season 8, but also there's like the rest of the world. Like if you look at like the Game of Thrones multi-language videos, so like YouTubers who do what I do but in a different language, those numbers never dropped. Game of Thrones is just as big all across the world as it was during the height of Game of Thrones, like so before season 8 aired. It's mostly loud people online, and I obviously had my own problems with it. Obviously, everybody did. Some of the writing choices were like, what the fuck? Why would you put the trebuchets not up front? What the fuck? So they just get taken out? That doesn't even make sense. Okay, that's stupid. Whatever. Turn a flashlight on for episode 3. That's all you had to do. That's all you had to do. I wanted to see the fucking epicness. I didn't want to have to go, what was that? Hold up. Pause. Bring it back. What the fuck was that? You know what I mean? Like, most of the world doesn't give a shit. They still think that Game of Thrones is the greatest show of all time. They love how inclusive it is. They love how they take locals from wherever they film at. They love how they include all the races. They love how they show gay sex and heterosexual sex. They love that. This show is accepted all across the world. It's the fucking, people online who like to make you think, oh, there's no longer a calling for it. I don't know. I don't think so. Which Starks will be in this timeline? Oh, okay. So, Ken Follin, to finish answering your question, I don't think it will be hard at all for House of the Dragon to overcome the last season. I think, obviously, when Ryan Condal and all the stars start doing interviews, they're going to be like, that's going to be the most common question asked. It's like, how do you feel this show is going to be able to carve its way from the backlash that was Game of Thrones season 8? And they're all going to be like, well, this is its own show. So, I don't know. I think it will be super easy, though. What the fuck? Did this thing break? Yay, what the hell? That sucks. Aaron Smiley says, which Starks will be in this timeline? Cregan Stark, Sarah Snow, a couple of them. There's probably going to be a few characters that are added. Felipe says, if Luke dies in the first season, isn't it too fast-paced then if it ends with blood and cheese, specifically if they have 2 timelines? Did you ask me that question in that video? Because I feel like I've answered that exact question in the comment section of that video. I mean, it's not necessarily fast-paced because you have to realize there's 2 separate timelines. So in the flashback timeline, that's the build-up to all the shit that's happening in the main series. So no, I don't think that would be too fast-paced. I think this series it doesn't have enough source material to run 7 or 8 seasons like Game of Thrones. Really 7 because the last 2 seasons were half, 6 and 5 or whatever, or 7 and 6. But it doesn't have enough source material to run that long. So each season has to hit major points in the dance. We're not going to get 10 seasons of this. It would suck towards halfway through because there's not enough source material. And we saw what happens when the writers take choices and don't have the source material to play guide with, right? They make some silly choices sometimes. So this series is probably going to cap at maybe 6 at most. We might get a half a season to sort of shows you what happens to maybe start the cause of the Blackfire. But I don't know. We're obviously going to get Aegon the Third. But yeah, I think this is going to, it'll be good to hit high points. So the first season ends with blood and cheese. The second season, yada, yada, third, fourth, fifth. And then finally we get the end of the dance. When will the second trailer release? Probably everybody tends to think that it's going to be at the convention, the Game of Thrones convention in February in Las Vegas. I personally think that it's going to be around then too. Also, you got to realize that there could be they could do like what Marvel does, where they'll do like a teaser trailer, then a promotional trailer for the actual trailer. You know what I mean? So that there could be another small teaser that maybe comes out in between now and then. Maybe it's like a small TV spot where we start to get featurettes from different main cast members from the first series. Oh, excuse me. I can't edit that out because it's live. But one of the things that Game of Thrones did was like those featurettes. So we got to see what's happening with House Stark. We got to see what's happening with House Lannister. We got to see what's happening with House Targaryen. They could do that for each one of these main cast members because this show is obviously something new entirely. So the average show watcher from Game of Thrones may not actually know what the fuck is going on. So if that's the case, we can get a featurette of the Blacks. So we get sort of like a hip hop style close up. No, I'm just kidding. Just like a vignette of a certain character. So we get Rhaenyra and Daemon's perspective. Like, remember how the season 8 DVD source material, we would have actors from the season narrating house history and stuff like that. They could do something like that and have Matt Smith narrate for House Targaryen, the Daemons, the Blacks in his camp. I think that would be interesting. He did an amazing job doing the like kings did make us dragons, made us kings. Like he did an amazing job narrating the main trailer. So I think that would be pretty cool to have him do something like that. Also the guy Harry Lloyd, I think is his name, that plays Viserys. He has a really good narrating voice. Isn't it funny how Americans can just be like any person with a British accent? We're like, oh yeah, they sound smart. Fucking goddamn, they must know what they're talking about. And really, there could be like some British idiots with an accent. We're just like eating up their shit because they sound good. I don't know. I know it's mostly Americans that do that. Irie Fan Geek says, people that hate on casting, I don't get it. What do you want? Chris Hemsworth as a Targaryen? Brad Pitt as the king? That would be cheesy and corny. Yes, it would. I think it's not necessarily hating. It's just everybody has in their own mind who they thought the perfect person would be. I don't know if it's necessarily fair to just say it's like hate. It's more like, people have their own opinion and it may not be the same as ours. So, this is the place to say it. Like, this is the best place to say your opinion is, online where other people may have something. That's why I watch mostly stuff that goes against what I naturally am inclined to think. Like, for instance, for political stuff, I was raised obviously a liberal. My dad was a Rastafarian and my stepmom was very, very political, especially in the Bush election for 2000. So obviously that's where my default opinions lie. But I like watching like Compound Media and like obviously Joe Rogan and all of those people associated with that because it challenges what I think. And I like to hear the other side because I feel like it gives me a more informed opinion. That's why I started that second YouTube channel that I'll probably never upload again to, Down the Middle Podcast. You got to listen to both sides. What the fuck was that even in response to? The Brad Pitt casting thing. Yes, that's just their opinion. I do think it would have been stupid to have like some of the casting choices that I've seen some of the fan accounts tweeting about because it just doesn't make sense. They either don't know the source material at all or they just see a pretty person and they're like, oh yeah, that could be a Targaryen. Dude, I'm live streaming right now. You can't come in here. My damn cats. Get out of here. All right, fine. Y'all they just start fighting and they'll usually knock something over. Just going back up to see if I missed any questions. This is going to be a wrap-up point. Let's see. Do you think Daemon is going to survive the battle above the God's Eye? I think he does. I think there's no reason for Nettles to be worshipped as a woods witch if she didn't do some sort of magical last case to I don't even know what you want to call that. I guess reinvent, reincarnate Daemon, resurrect him. Like if the Mountain Clan saw her doing that, because that's what's interesting. That's the main thing you got to look at it. So battle above the God's Eye, Daemon is fighting his son, Aemon, One Eye. I say it's his son, Aemon, not just because you could take the D and put it on the end, like someone commented that when I said the theory initially, but also because Daemon was literally known to fuck. I knew y'all were gonna do that shit. They just wanted me to open the door so they can stand there and look at me. Daemon used to fuck Alicent. Aemon's personality is more so in line with Daemon's. It's 100% possible that because Alicent was so promiscuous and she was having an affair with King Viserys before Aemma Arryn, Rhaenyra's mother, died, it's possible that Alicent also had an affair with the Rogue Prince, the brother, the dashing dragon prince who like literally was everything that Viserys wasn't. Viserys is like this easygoing, laid back, like party king, right? And Daemon is all of that, but then not, right? So he's so much more. He was everything that Viserys wasn't. He was daring, dashing. That was actually part of the reason why Viserys admired him, is because he was like the embodiment of what a prince, a dragon prince should be, you know? For instance, Viserys rode Balerion a couple of times when, you know, he was younger, but then he was afraid that Balerion wouldn't make it around the city, so he landed, and then Balerion dies, and then Viserys never rides another dragon again. He's like, it's probably too much, right? He's like, I don't feel like doing that. I can just sit right here and fucking chill, man. We got it made. My brother's doing all this shit. My queen's doing all this shit. My daughter's going to take over. Let me just relax. I don't want to, you know, really do anything. So way off track there, but basically in the battle above the God's Eye, you know, they face off. Obviously, Daemon kills his nephew by not hooking in his feet to the dragon saddle and then jumping off and driving Dark Sister down through, you know, Aemon's eye, whatever. The dragon carcasses were discovered. Aemon's body was obviously discovered because Dark Sister was given to Bloodraven many, many years later. Daemon's body, however, was not. So that's the big thing that, along with Nettles, which I'll talk about here in a second, but that's the big thing that goes along with it. It's like the dragon carcasses were found, the sword was found, but Daemon's body wasn't. Aemon's body was. So it's like, what the fuck? Obviously, he floated away and survived, and maybe Nettles swooped in and grabbed him on Sheep Stiller. They flew off to the woods. She performed some sort of sacrifice, which brought Daemon back. Maybe they could have the battle above the God's Eye happen earlier on. Daemon comes back half broken, and then we get like a good ending for him or something like that. I don't know. There's several different moments, like when Aegon is like crazy wounded. He lives, but he becomes this sick and twisted individual. So it makes me think that since they're having these weirwood trees brought in, there's going to be more magical elements. Maybe they're going to say that the way that they were saved is by magic. So maybe Aegon dies on Sunfire that day, but the Red Priest that's around at this time that's being potentially cast brings him back, and he's like this half-broken mass. You got to remember Robert Strong, right? Zombies. This is how they're going to do it. I just figured it out right here. Make sure you slap a like on this motherfucker. And then same with Daemon. When Daemon dies and he's crazy fucking wounded, he comes back and he's a Firewhite on the show, but we don't know that yet. I don't know. Yes, exactly. I think it should be fewer seasons, not completely shrunk to like 2 or 3. It should be at least 5, at most 6. Well, I'm talking 10 episode seasons though. So that's 50 episodes. That's more than enough time to tell this story, because we want the filler, but we don't want so much filler like Bad Posey. Like we don't want that, right? But we do want some because there's a lot of missing chunks from the source material. I was a little concerned when they cast Matt, a great actor, but was he right for the part? Look at him now. Perfect. You never know until you see it on screen. Hell yeah. Good points, man. Excuse me. Tarlock Singh says, I think Matt Smith is amazing for playing Daemon Targaryen. After all, it's the second time he's playing a prince consort. Yeah, he was in the Netflix series. Somebody let me know in the chat, but he basically played a younger version of the prince that just died, right? The one that just died, he was like 94. I don't know their names. I know Queen Elizabeth. Let's see. Would like to know your plans for when the show starts. Are you going to do an after show pregame? Yeah. So basically, if you go back and look from Game of Thrones, seasons 6 through 8, the seasons that I covered. I started a little bit before season 6 came out, but what I do is I do these leaked videos up until the first trailer, and then I'll only do like one leaked video a week, and it's usually going to be going back through looking at the trailer and then all the leaks. But then when the show actually comes out, I do a live stream right after the episode ends for usually an hour and a half, and then I immediately start working on my breakdown video, which is anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, and I'm usually one of the first ones uploaded here on YouTube, baby. Woo! It's going to happen again, except for this time. At least at the start of this season, I'm going to be having my little baby girl's going to be coming home. She'll be born around the time that this show starts. So I'll probably be delayed. Usually I had my breakdowns up by like 5 or 6 in the morning on the Monday following the episode premiere, but they'll probably be coming out like later that day. Who knows? It depends. When babies first come home, they sleep a lot. So I may be able to, squeeze out a couple in there. Maybe he didn't leave it there. Maybe it was still inside Aemon One-Eye's body, so he couldn't, like, him being half dead. Maybe Nettles uses fire magic to bring him back. Rhaenyra, she has it. Maybe Daemon has a red priest follow him around. And maybe red priests commonly fuck up their visions. They don't know who's who. So maybe Daemon is supposed to be the prince who's promised, and that's why they follow him around and resurrect him or some shit. Who knows? But I don't think he willingly left Dark Sister there. I think it was still forced in Aemon's body. And, like, obviously he's not going to go swim down there and pull it out. All right, well, I think this is a good point to wrap this video up. We're at 41 minutes. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please do me a massive favor and slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 42 plus 0. But really, and in all actuality, just give me as many likes as you can. Share this video on as many social media platforms as you can. All of that, only do all of that if you want to. Obviously, that means if you enjoy my videos. So if you enjoy my content, you enjoy the entertainment that I tried to provide throughout the Wait for House of the Dragon Season 1, or as it's known on this channel, the Long Nights. If you enjoy that, obviously, please slap a like, comment, and share it. I want to give a super special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family. As you can see right here, Joe Swag, Rey de los Santos, Marilyn Miller, Nancy Tockstein, Leah Hendrickson, Bloody Tyrant, Damon Mile, Rick Lacey, Nancy Loera, Reflective Rambling, Isaiah Nash, Matt Vance, Angie Delahanty, and Rogaine Ablar. Super special shout out to every single member right there. If anybody's watching this, wants to go join that, check the link down below in the description. I want to thank you all so much for watching. My name is Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Long Night. Here's your side reviews.